So in today's video, we're going to talk about one of the latter steps in the process of preparing a hunting spot, which is actually placing the stands. We're going to use some different types of stands. I'm a lock-on guy. I like to be as high up in a tree as I can possibly get, but we also are going to make use of a climber, and we're going to use a ground blind as well. This channel has hunting segments, RV trips, travel videos, cooking segments, gear reviews, camera reviews, and a myriad of different things. So if you're interested in any of that, don't forget to like and subscribe, as I'll be sharing content as I'm able. So in the previous videos in this series, we've talked about, what all it takes to select an area, to prepare, how to clear the land, how to turn the soil over, what to plant, how to plant it, when to plant it, all those different things. We didn't go into great detail on that because that kind of depends on what part of the country you're in. But showed some basic steps about what I did to prepare, things to what they are right now. So in this video, we're going to talk about the two spots that we've been working on, and then how we're going to pick out trees to hang stands in, or an area to put a ground blind in, and some of the steps that go into that. So the first spot offers one to hang a stand in a tree, which I'd kind of picked out beforehand, and another spot where I want to place a hunting stand or a hunting blind, so to speak. There's no trees there. There is a very thick, like wildberry patch. It's full of briars, and so what I'm going to do is actually cut a block out of that and then place a ground blind in there and then kind of brush it in. A couple of weeks ago, we planted stuff and it's coming up, and I'll fill the feeders every time I go out there. But this spot, like I said, is going to have two things. The first, we're going to make use of a lock-on stand in a tree. And so when you're going to hang things like this, it's best to have someone with you. I unfortunately did not have anybody with me, so you got to make sure that you take precautions and you're as safe as you can be when you're doing this, especially by yourself. I'm going to use a stick ladder for this one. And it's pretty easy. It just kind of goes together, and then you pin it together. And then it actually is fastened to the tree with ratchet straps. So you lean it up against the tree, put the strap around it, put it through the buckle, and then cinch it tight. Once I get the stick ladder attached to the tree, then I'll actually ascend the stick ladder using my harness and a lineman belt. And then I'll hoist up the stand, and then I'll actually place it and connect the stand to the tree, the lock onto the tree with an actual ratchet strap. When I do that, I'll also make sure that I tether myself with the harness to the tree before I step onto the stand to make sure that it's safe. And then I'll, put all my weight on the stand to make sure that it's safe and secure. That way everything's set when I go out there to go hunting. The stand's already in place, and then I just, climb up, hoist my gear up, and then I'm there for the sit. All right. Coming out here to do some work before the season starts. Coming to check our plot growth, change out batteries, and change out camera cards, fill up feeders. Good stuff. Got some stuff coming up here. There's a track. There's a camera. We'll hang a stand right there in that tree. They have been clawing up that trophy rock. get going. All right, spot one's just about finished. About here is the feeder. There's the center of the food plot. Feeder's just to the right. There's a lock on up in that tree. It's about 25 feet or so. Camera's there. And then there's a ground blind that's kind of sort of brushed in. The deer come from there. So my thought process is, if they're coming from this way, from here across to the feeder, they're focused on the feeder, I'm up in the tree hunting that wind. Alternatively, if it's a different wind, I'm in the ground blind. That's about a 20 yard shot, maybe a little longer. So there's where they're coming out. So I'll show you the point of view. So there's the feeder walking across. As soon as they get into the path, can't really see anything. Feeder's there, fully exposed right there. I'll have to shoot through some of those briars that are sticking out or whatever, but I think just to the far side there is where I'm going to take my shot window. The deer should be standing somewhere in here or somewhere in here. It's a wrap for this spot. Move on to the next one. So spot number 2 offers a little bit more towards actual lock-ons. It's a block of woods that kind of had a square part cut out of it where they stored materials when they were building this pipeline. And so it has pine trees and trees all around it. And so there's 2 locations that I can hunt, very different winds. I'm going to hang one lock on with climbing sticks onto a pine tree that's probably 15-20 yards shot to the feeder. And then the second one, I'm going to actually use a lone wolf climber, ultralight climber that a friend of mine was gracious enough to let me borrow. I'm going to go ahead and place it on the tree, but I'm not gonna do anything else. I'll just use it to climb up the tree when I go out and hunt. All right, now we're down to spot number 2. This one has got tons of deer traffic. Look at the tracks and the sign. I mean, it's everywhere. Also got some good growth of the food plot mix I threw out. This was actually that Evolved Harvest 7-card stud. I was a little skeptical about it, but you can see clumps of it. There's grass and brassicas and all that stuff. And then I seeded Austrian winter peas in with it too. So I'm hoping all this is going to come up fairly quickly. This has been about 2 weeks, so it's doing pretty good for 2 weeks time. I mean, you can look out and see it's kind of turning green all throughout where I planted it. But I also brought about 3/4 of a bag of Austrian winter peas back with me so I can overseed. I'm gonna come back every time I come out here to check cards or fill up feeders until the beginning of deer season. I'll bring this Austrian winter peas with me and I'll just broadcast it out in top layer. That way I can always have hopefully some regeneration, because these deer, once these peas get to a certain maturity, the deer will just completely wipe them out. So my thought is that I could throw these out and then have different stages of growth. I'm gonna try it anyway. All right, so filled up the feeder already. Feeder's right there. Change the camera card, camera's just there. Now I'm going to hang 2 stands. Actually, I'm gonna hang 1 stand and then I'm gonna hook on a climber and leave it. I'm gonna put the climber right there on that pine tree, nice and straight, no stobs, no anything. Deer sometimes come from down there in that corner and they'll walk up the edge of the food plot. So I'm going to get just inside of the line right there on that pine tree, and then have a climber. And then here I'm going to put a lock on in that tree. So get harnessed up and get to it. Hang a stand right here, but I'm gonna back out. I don't want to mess with that. It was right next to where I was gonna hang a stand, so let's get down range here. Let's pick another one. I'll pick this one right here.